Welcome to Once Upon a Coin, documenting the ongoing history of blockchain and cryptocurrency. And as always, I'm your storyteller, Jason Cassidy. Today's story is about one of the top blockchains and cryptocurrencies in the entire world. And it's got a well-known and outspoken leader behind it, plus it's got a pretty damn cool name. But that's just what you can see at the surface level. Looking deeper reveals a fascinating journey this crypto startup embarked upon many years ago. And as with many things in life, it's a journey that's often better than the destination. This is the story of Tron.
Sun cast a shadow, a digital line is coming over the mountain and over your mind. Double down your Bitcoin, hang on for the ride. We're moving into the future, one block at a time. We're moving into the future, one block at a time.
Tron's unique history cannot be told properly without first introducing its main character, Justin Sun. Sun had already made a name for himself early on when he acted as a protege to Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba. At just 26, Sun was handpicked by Ma to study at the Jack Ma Hupan University for Entrepreneurs. Where this gets really impressive is when you learn that Hupan University has a lower acceptance rate than Princeton. Essentially, only the best of the very best ever got into Hupan, and in Jack Ma's opinion, Justin Sun made the cut. To say that this set up Justin Sun for early success is probably a massive understatement. By 2013, cryptocurrency had become so popular that it was now on the radar for a lot of investors, especially those in the fintech space. Sun saw this as an opportunity to get exposure to the industry, and he accepted a job at Ripple. While he was there, he held roles as an advisor and also as a chief representative to the greater region of China. A year later in 2014, Sun founded PU, a Chinese voice-based social media app that became quite popular with over 10 million users. All of this knowledge and experience that Sun was accumulating via these endeavors eventually led him to want to take on a bigger project, one within cryptocurrency. A project that would bring him influence, financial prosperity, and technological dominance. And in 2017, that's exactly what Justin Sun did. And he did it in probably the most powerful way you can within crypto. He accomplished this by creating his own standalone blockchain and cryptocurrency. And he called it Tron. Its native currency is called Tronix, or TRX as it's better known by its ticker symbol. In July, the Tron Foundation was formed over in Singapore. The foundation's first order of business was to raise a lot of capital, and they did just that. Over a 3-day period, Tron ran its ICO, or initial coin offering, raising $70 million. The timing of the sale was pretty good for Tron, considering just days later, the Chinese government outright banned ICOs as a form of raising money for crypto companies. This drove a lot of business out of China and over to Hong Kong for companies who weren't quite yet ready to start raising capital. But for Tron, they had gotten in just under the wire. As for what the Tron network is, well, it's a smart contract-based blockchain that allows for content creation and distribution in a decentralized fashion. Add in some dApp or decentralized application support, and you now had a serious potential competitor to Ethereum. For some context, 2017 was a crazy year in crypto as it went on an insane bull market that lasted pretty much the entire year. Most projects that were launching around this time did so on Ethereum to take advantage of the ERC-20 token standard. Tron was doing something much more ambitious though. It was trying to replicate Ethereum's success and create its own unique ecosystem. A place where companies and customers would flock to do business, and where startups would go ahead and try to build the next unicorn on top of. At least early on, Tron did feel like the right idea coming to life at the right time. So, with the company now being flush with money due to a successful ICO, the next logical step was to get the network for Tron up and running. Because the blockchain wasn't live at the time of the ICO, Tron investors were given an Ethereum equivalent token to represent their Tron token ownership. So, while the bear market was taking hold of the industry once 2018 rolled around, Tron had its own focus, and it spent the first half of 2018 working on it. On May 31st, the big moment came when everything went from hypothetical to very real for Tron. And that's because the Tron blockchain officially went online with its mainnet release, fulfilling a promise made to investors almost a year ago. The next step was migrating users' tokens from Ethereum over to Tron, which would now be their permanent home. This process would be done in waves, with the final migration of tokens being marked as a celebration of sorts. But just before that was about to transpire, Tron's risk-tolerant leader, Jason Cassidy, pulled a rabbit out of his crypto hat that shocked the entire industry. On June 19th, it was announced that the Tron Foundation had purchased BitTorrent, the peer-to-peer file sharing service, for $140 million. The obvious conclusion that most were drawing from this mega move on Sun's part was that he had plans to use cryptocurrencies on the BitTorrent platform. Despite what the name suggests, BitTorrent wasn't a Bitcoin product or even a blockchain one. Of course, that was before a blockchain project had bought it out, so you can start to see why people were getting really excited about Tron's future now. So, with the dust yet to settle from this major acquisition, just days later on June 25th, Tron completed its final token migration from Ethereum. This day was then marked down in Tron's history books as Independence Day. They were finally on their own. The first year of Tron's existence was a pretty good one, with very few companies being able to make a better claim to a stronger rookie year in the blockchain space. And all this good fortune had managed to find its way into the token price, which helped raise Tron's market cap to a very lofty $3 billion. And this earned Tron a much coveted and desired place in the top 10 of crypto when measured by market cap. Tron was now a top 10 cryptocurrency, and usually when you're a top 10 cryptocurrency, you're pretty much a made man. The Tron token had hit a price of 30 cents USD on January 4th, nearing the end of the bull market. But by the end of 2018, the price had collapsed all the way down to just 2 cents US. While this was more of a reflection of the nasty crypto winter that was setting in, it also highlighted the need for top blockchains like Tron to continue innovating and bring value to their network. And they did just that by starting 2019 off with a bang. In January, it was revealed that BitTorrent would be releasing its own token called BTT. And what blockchain might this token be launched on, you're asking? Well, you already know the answer here. Tron, of course. Sun's plans for BitTorrent were starting to be made public, but this is just the first phase of that plan. And by the spring, he was ready to unveil the rest of it. On May 1st, BitTorrent announced the debut of BTFS, or the BitTorrent file system, which would introduce the concept of decentralized storage to the Tron blockchain. By now, Jason Cassidy, Tron's fearless leader, had also taken on the role of CEO over at BitTorrent. When Tron made the acquisition of BitTorrent a year prior, everyone knew there was going to be a strong relationship between the two, and now that partnership was clearly solidified. In bear markets, these are the type of strategic power plays that don't often move the price very much at the time. But what they do accomplish is slowly shifting negative sentiment towards positive, which eventually leads to a new bull market. Outside of major acquisitions, another thing that crypto companies can do to help balance the scales is make a litany of very powerful partnerships. Tron did this as well, cutting deals with Samsung, Opera, and BitGo. As with most bear markets, this good news did absolutely nothing to help the token price, as it sat around the 1 cent USD mark for most of 2019. Regardless of the price though, Tron was hell-bent on continuing forward with spending big bucks and making big moves in a chilly crypto winter. In 2020, Sun put his foot on the gas pedal and put Tron into overdrive. It started with the acquisition of a growing player in the decentralized social media space. On February 14th, it was announced that the Tron Foundation had acquired Steemit, who'll be migrating their proprietary blockchain tech and token over to the Tron network. Tron needed to prove to the public that its blockchain was the place to build great things upon, whether that was from scratch or an existing startup looking for a change of scenery, as was the case with Steemit. Next up, it was time for a more homegrown strategy. This took form in the launching of its own decentralized finance or DeFi platform called Just. Just would allow users to earn interest on their TRX holdings while also taking advantage of a host of different financial services. Just would also issue a USD stablecoin called USDJ, which would play a pivotal role in this new DeFi-based ecosystem. By this juncture, the industry was now deep into a 3-year-long bear market, and it was really starting to kill the good vibes after this long. Tron took things even further when on August 18th, they debuted JustSwap. This was Tron's answer to Uniswap and QuickSwap, the popular decentralized exchanges that existed over on Ethereum and Polygon. The launch was a success, garnering $3.5 million in liquidity and completing over $5 million worth of trading in just its first 24 hours of operation. Despite all the promotions, partnerships, and acquisitions that Tron was undertaking, the price wasn't moving at all, not even a budge. It ended 2020 much the way that it had started, trading in the 2 to 4 cent USD range. But 2021 was just around the corner, and if you know your crypto history, then you know that 2021 was the blockchain acid trip to end all acid trips. After many years of hard work, Tron had positioned itself to capitalize on this moment in time. The bull market of 2021 was different from previous manias in that this one featured NFTs or non-fungible tokens as a shiny new object everyone was getting FOMO over. Tron went with the flow here, introducing NFTs to their platform, capturing the hearts and minds of an entirely new user base that weren't into crypto just to go ahead and chase meme coins. Bitcoin, which still very much ruled the roost during this era, was finally moving in the right direction price-wise. Eventually, after enough momentum was built up, Bitcoin took the rest of the industry by the hand and took it along for the ride. Everything was now pumping in the markets, fungible or non-fungible, it really didn't matter. The Tronix token was not immune to this effect, seeing it hit its 2021 high on April 16th when it reached a price point of 16 cents US per token. All of this intellectual property that Tron had obtained and was deploying seemed to be finally paying off. As an example, in July, it was revealed that JustSwap was actually now outpacing Polygon's QuickSwap when it came to active users. Given how popular Polygon was as the main Layer 2 solution for Ethereum, with QuickSwap being the main method to swap tokens around, what Tron had just done was no small feat. In October, another big move went down when Sun.io acquired JustSwap. This was done with the intention of rebranding the exchange to SunSwap, which would be a new, improved, and much bigger decentralized exchange. Next month, the Tron Foundation made a strategic move to ensure that they had a large presence in the growing NFT sector. On November 3rd, they announced they had joined forces with NFT marketplace Ape NFT to create a $100 million fund to support NFT projects and digital artists. Tron outlined the importance of having funding options for NFT art, the metaverse, and the GameFi space. If you were involved with Tron, then these are exactly the type of things that you wanted to hear them talking about. And finally, to close out what was a crazy year, in December, perhaps the biggest move of all was made when Tron announced the formation of the Tron DAO. And in case you're wondering what the heck DAO means, a DAO is a decentralized, autonomous organization. Tron's DAO would be a community-focused group with the mandate of helping grow the Tron network in a healthy and sustainable manner. 2022 was a down year as crypto was understandably going through a recovery from the wild ride it had just gone on. The Tronix token spent most of the year trading around the 6 cent USD mark, so nothing really impressive. There was the odd feel-good story though, like the Caribbean island of Dominica, not to be mistaken with the Dominican Republic. The Dominica government declared their support for Tron by promising to release their fan token, Dominica Token, on the Tron network. But outside of this development, 2022 was pretty quiet. However, that all changed big time in 2023. Tron had been growing at a rapid pace, cutting deals with seemingly everyone and finding creative ways to promote themselves in and outside of the industry. One of the areas where Tron found itself under the spotlight was its relationships with stablecoins. Both Tether and USDC came up in the news for being linked to Tron for less than ideal reasons. First up was Tether, who has long been suspected of shady business practices due to the questionable past of some of their key members. Tether hasn't helped their reputation due to refusing to ever conduct an audit, only an attestation. And if you know what an audit and an attestation is, then you're very familiar with the fact that they are not the same thing at all. However, those were problems that were uniquely related to Tether. But When the concerns around Tether became too much to ignore, their biggest partners also came into focus. When it was reported that Tron had upwards of 50% of all the outstanding USDT supply residing on their network, people had mixed reactions. This was viewed as either a negative if you weren't a fan of Tether, or it was viewed as a positive thing if you felt that it proved to help show Tron's growing dominance. However, as 2023 continued to play out, the more USDT that Tether minted on Tron, the more attention the situation was getting. Eventually, by early 2024, this predicament began to boil over. It all started on February 21st, when Circle, the issuer of USDC, Tether's main competitor, dropped a huge bomb. They announced that they would be ending support of their currency on the Tron network. Just days later, and it was Tether's turn to come into the news. They were asked a question if they too would be ending support of USDT on Tron. And here's the problem with this entire scenario. The company refused to either confirm or deny the possibility. Just a month later, in March, a report was released by TRM Labs, who conducts blockchain research. What was inside this report was fascinating, as it amounted to a deep dive into all the illicit activity that was taking place within crypto. The report showed which blockchain networks were used the most to facilitate crime. And guess who the winner was? Tron, coming in at a whopping 45% of all the illicit volume. The report also showed which currencies were used the most to conduct these transactions. And the winner of this prize? Tether. The mainstream media, which historically had avoided giving crypto a lot of coverage, seemingly was fascinated with Tether's operations. So when TMR's report went public, they jumped on the news and it spread like a wildfire. And that brings us to the present day, where both Tron and Tether seem to be weathering this current storm pretty well. The rise in Bitcoin's price leading up to the halving event in April of 2024 has helped boost the entire market. They say that a rising tide lifts all boats, and Tron holders definitely benefited from this as well. This was reflected in the price of the Tronix token, which hit a value of 14 cents US in February. Now, as for what the future holds for Tron, well, that's anyone's guess. They currently find themselves sitting just outside of the top 10 coins when measured by market cap, and they're constantly working hard to bring more value to their network. Regardless of what the next few chapters hold for Tron, there is one thing that's for certain. Since 2017, they've been consistently making an impact, slowly but surely climbing up the ranks to the very top of the crypto ladder. And with Justin Sun at the helm, who's willing to make big moves if necessary, the next few chapters should really be very exciting. I hope you enjoyed today's stroll down memory lane. Until next time, have fun and enjoy life, my friends. I'll be back soon with another incredible story to tell you.